Okay, hello. Here we are with lesson 10, order of operations. Today, students will be able to use the order of operations to simplify an expression. Language objectives, students will be able to understand what grouping symbols are and correctly state the order of operations. And this is important for many math problems this year. We need to know what order to perform these operations in. The order of operations. So why am I learning this? The vocabulary. Grouping symbols are usually parentheses. So you usually will see parentheses there, but they could also be these brackets. If there's already parentheses, they'll use brackets. Or these are braces, the little curly brackets. Or sometimes absolute value symbols. So those are also grouping symbols. So here we are. Order of operations. Remember, we always simplify with grouping symbols first. So we think of parentheses. So go ahead and put a little P with parentheses around it. Then we simplify exponents, and I usually put a little X there to let you know exponents is the little number floating to the right of the digit. Number 3, next we do multiplying or dividing in order from left to right. So that we want to draw a little left to right arrow. And then same thing for add, subtract, left to right. So sometimes it's seen as PEMDAS. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Or it's also been referred to as GEMS, which is grouping symbols, exponents, multiply or divide, subtract or add. Because remember, once we get to these two steps, it's just left to right. All right, so let's look at some examples. We've been using the order of operations for forever. It's just that we usually only have one operation there. So 3 plus 5 equals 8. Our operation there was adding. That was the only thing we had to do. For 4 squared, remember 4 squared is the same thing as saying 4 times 4, and 4 times 4 is 16. So remember, order of operations changes a problem to its simplest form. So simplest form right now is just meaning a number, an integer. All right, so let's look at these examples so we can see what to do first. You might want to write a little checklist to the side. Remember, start with parentheses, then look for exponents, then look for multiplying or dividing left to right, and then finally looking for adding and subtracting left to right. All right, so in this very first problem, do we have parentheses? And yes, we do. They're right there. So we need to perform that operation first. I'm going to bring down the 3. I'm not going to use that yet. I am still going to use parentheses, but that's just to show my answer this time. So 8 minus 2 is 6. And now that we've done the parentheses, now we can look to what operation we have left. We have 3 times 6, and 3 times 6 is our only operation left. So when we perform that, we get 18, and that is our answer, 18. All right, on to number 2. I have multiplying and I have an exponent. Multiplying an exponent. So exponent is going to have to come first. And so I'm going to bring down the 2, bring down the multiply. And for the exponent, I'm going to go ahead and work that out. 3 squared means 3 times 3, which is 9. Now I only have one operation left. That is 2 times 9, and 2 times 9 is 18. There's our answer. On to number 3, getting a little more complicated. We have division, we have multiplication, we have subtraction. Remember, divide and multiply is in the same level. It's left to right. And so I'm going to divide first because that's what I see first, left to right with those. So 8 divided by 2 is 4. I bring down the times 4 and the minus 1. And now that I have times and subtraction, multiplication and subtraction, we know multiplication comes next. And so that would be 16, and 16 take away 1 is finally 15. All right, so we're still following this order the whole time. Let's look at our next one. I have subtraction and I have addition. Subtraction and addition. In our order, it says subtraction and addition is left to right. So I'm going to perform it as I see it, left to right. 7 minus 3 is 4. Bring down the plus, bring down the 2, and 4 plus 2 is 6. So that's how we get the correct answer. Let's go on over here. Number 5. I have subtraction and I have multiplication. Again, if you want to, you can make that little checklist in each of these little sections of our notes today. Remember, the first thing we'll look for are parentheses. Then we move on to exponents. And then multiply or divide, left to right. Add, subtract, left to right would be last. So if you want to make a little checklist, you can. All right, does this one have any parentheses? Nope. Does it have any exponents? Nope. Does it have any multiply or divide? Yes, it does. So that's what we will perform first. So this is going to be brought down 6 minus, and 8 times 3 is 24. Now it gets into some of our integer rules here. So now it says 6 minus 24. I'm going to rewrite that as plus and negative. Do I have more positives or more negatives? Well, I have more negatives. How many more negatives do I have? We figure that out with a little subtraction there. So 24, take away 6. If you need to do that to the side, that's okay. And we get 18. And so our answer there is going to be negative 18. Let's go on to number 7. Right here I see minus negative. So before I do anything, I'm going to add the opposite first of all. And then I'm going to look at what I have there. So I have now addition and multiplication. No parentheses, no exponents, but I do have multiplying. So I'm going to multiply first and bring down the rest. 10 plus 2 times 3, which is 6. Now I can finally perform that addition, and my answer is 16. All right, number 6. Here we go. We have negative 16 divided by negative 4 times negative 2. And so I have divide and I have multiply. Over here, I see divide and multiply is in the same level, and so I'm going to perform that left to right. Negative 16 divided by negative 4, negative divided by a negative is a positive 4. And I'm going to bring down times and bring down the negative 2. Now all I have left to do is multiply, and we know 4 times negative 2 is going to give us negative 8. All right, on to number 8 over here. Do I have parentheses? Well, yes, I do have parentheses this time, so I have to look in there first. I kind of ignore the rest of it and zoom in on whatever's in parentheses first. All right, so we have negative 10 minus 2. We know that means negative 10 plus negative 2. Negative 10 plus negative 2 is negative 12. We have negative 12s altogether. And then I'm going to bring down the times and bring down the 3 squared. Now that I've worked with parentheses, I can kind of check that off. Next, I look for exponents. Do I have an exponent here? Yeah, we have a little number floating. So we perform that next. I'm going to bring down my negative 12, and I'm going to write my times. But now I perform the 3 squared. 3 squared means 3 times 3, and so that's going to give me 9. And now the last operation I have is negative 12 times 9, which is negative, well, let's work it out to the side if you can't do that in your head. 9 times 2 is 18, carry the 1, 9 times 1 is 9, plus 1 is 10. And so we get negative 108. There we are. All right, let's look for some more complicated ones. I bet you can do these now. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Let's look for parentheses. Any parentheses in this one? Nope. Any exponents? Nope. So now we move to multiply and divide. I do have some multiplying, I do have some dividing, and so I can perform that left to right. So I'm going to do 3 times 5 first. 3 times 5 is 15. And then I'm going to bring down the rest. I'm going to bring down the minus 8, the divide by 4, the plus 6. Now I have a minus, I have a divide, I have an add. And so I'm going to look over here and I see divide is next. Division is my next one. And so in this case, I'm dividing negative 8 by 4. And negative 8 divided by 4 gives us negative 2. Bring down the 15 that was in front. Bring down the plus 6. Okay, now I am just left with subtraction and addition, so I perform it left to right. 15 minus 2 is 13. Bring down my plus 6, and I can finally add in that 6. 13 plus 6 will end up with, finally, our answer of 19. On over to number 10. Do I have any parentheses? Well, I do, but there's no operation in there, really. All it's doing is separating the negative from a minus. And so we need to change this anyway. Minus a negative is plus a positive. Add the opposite there. And now we can look at all of our symbols. Subtraction, multiplication, division, and addition. So I don't have any parentheses really with operations. I don't have any exponents. So now I look for multiplication or division, left to right. There's my first one. That's multiplying. So that's what happens first. We're going to bring down the 5. Bring down the 5. Then negative 6 times 4 is going to give us negative 24. Bring down the divide. Bring down the 3. Bring down the plus. Bring down the positive 1, which I'm now just going to write like that. All right, so now I have a subtraction, division, addition. Let's see what happens first. Oh, division happens first. So there we are. That's what's next. Bring down the 5. Negative 24 divided by 3 is going to be negative 8. Bring down the plus 1. And now that all I'm left with is subtraction and addition, I perform it left to right. So 5 minus 8 is what's going to happen first. 5 take away 8, or 5 plus negative 8, is going to give us negative 3. Plus 1, we can finally work out. Do I have more positives or more negatives? Well, I have more negatives. How many more do I have? I have 2 more. So we get negative 2. All right, on down to number 11. Look at that funness. We have parentheses, we have brackets, we have exponents, we have just about everything in this one. So whenever you have multiple sets of groupings, so we have parentheses here, but we also have brackets here. So I want to focus on the inside and work my way out. I'm going to completely ignore this 20 minus for a little while. So I'm going to bring down that 20 minus. Now in this big set of brackets, I have a little set of parentheses. So I'm going to zoom in on the inside one first. So I'm going to bring down everything else. My bracket, my 2 squared, my plus, my 3. I'm going to leave an open spot with parentheses and then close the bracket. This is the first thing that needs to happen, the most inside parentheses I can get to. So that's what I work out first, and that's simple. 5 minus 1 is 4. Okay, so I've worked that one out, but I still have this big group, this big set of parentheses. So again, I'm completely ignoring what's outside it. I'm just going to bring it down, 20 minus. And now when we zoom in on this, inside this bracket, we have 2 squared, and we have plus, and we have 3 times 4. In that set, the first thing that needs to happen is the exponent, the 2 squared. So I'm going to bring down this bracket. I'm going to figure out 2 squared. 2 squared is 2 times 2, which is 4. I'm going to bring down my plus, bring down my 3 times 4, and bring down my bracket. Now inside that bracket, I have addition and I have multiplication. The first thing that needs to happen before multiplication or before addition is multiplication. So that's what happens next. I'm going to bring down everything else. 20 minus, bring down my bracket, bring down my 4, bring down my plus, and now I have 3 times 4. 3 times 4 is going to give us 12. Bring down my bracket. Now, inside those brackets, I have that little itty-bitty addition problem. 4 plus 12. So that's what's going to happen next. I'm going to bring down this 20. I'm going to bring down the minus. I no longer need the brackets because I only have this one operation left. 4 plus 12 is going to give us 16. Notice now all I have is that 16, and so 20 minus 16 is my last thing to do. I can finally use that 20. 20 minus 16 gives us the answer, which is 4. Okay, so from this point on, it's really just following these steps. Yes, there are some more complicated problems that we will work out together. I'm going to challenge you as a class and see if we can figure out some of these orders of operations and see if we can figure out what to do first and what to do next. Remember, though, it is, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Make sure that you ask me questions if you can't understand why we do certain things, and we're going to try some challenging ones together this week. All right, don't forget to do your exit ticket once you're done with notes. And as always, come visit me at the conference table if you'd like to have some questions answered. Bye-bye for now.